let's start with who you got as your favorite and maybe a couple guys on the outside.
Yeah, I mean, I think that this is definitely one of those picks where it's hard to go against a quarterback for the Heisman Trophy. It feels like year after year, besides maybe
Whoa, you
Devontae
think
Smith,
so?
to go outside of a quarterback.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, so I feel like year after year, you see a quarterback winning the Heisman Trophy, and usually reasonably so. Like the quarterback is one of the hardest positions to play in all of sports, and obviously, like in football, probably the hardest position to play. So I think that it's almost deservedly so, but it almost turns into quarterback award minus the Devontae Smith year, a couple years like in the very distant past. But I think that Jeremiah Smith is definitely the guy that you have to look out for this year. I mean, it's been said over and over again. I mean, he is only a true sophomore. He is one of the best players that we've ever seen in college football. And truthfully, I think he could be like a top 20 NFL wide receiver right now, which I don't even think is that crazy to say, and could be a lot of teams' wide receiver one. If he was in the NFL, maybe not a lot of teams, but
Mhm.
a couple teams. And I don't think that's the most insane thing to say. He's physically dominant over almost every single corner at the college football division as a true freshman. I'm sure he's put on some weight since then. He's obviously gained some experience. He's playing at one of the best like wide receiver schools, if not the best in the country. And I just don't see a world where he is limited or is been like stopped in any way. Like I could easily see him averaging over 100 yards a game, if probably well over that. So if there is going to be any year for a wide receiver to win the Heisman Trophy, definitely think it'd be this year, especially in a quarterback class where there are a lot of standout guys, but nobody in particular where you can kind of just nail your finger on. Obviously, you have Arch Manning, Sam Levitt, a bunch of different Garrett Nussmeier, all these different guys. But would I put my money on any of them to like secure the deal? Not really. And you have a guy who was physically dominant over everybody that we saw last year. It's the point where he like almost didn't single handedly, but it really helped his team win a national championship last year as a true freshman. So I don't really see how you can go away from that guy.
Yeah, if I mean Notre Dame at the very end there like made their run, but it was Jeremiah Smith at the very end of the game for Ohio State. So I'm going to say this to start. I actually really like and agree with the Jeremiah Smith pick. Like, I think if Ohio State gets to the Big Ten championship game or they win the Big Ten, I, I would imagine he's got just a ridiculous amount of yards. The stats are going to be there. The wins are going to be there. He's going to be the best player on that team. And he's probably going to be double covered. You're always going to have a safety helping. And, his second guy might get a lot of yards as well. Whoever's going to be the second leading receiver on that team. But Jeremiah Smith is going to be on a different type of level. And then you just can tell based off of how defenses are playing him. I would be remiss also to just not mention some of the QBs that are potentially in this, such as Arch Manning. I think that the issue is just we haven't seen him for a full season. If this was next year and he decides to come back from Texas, I mean, goodness, I don't know what the odds would be. I believe he still has the best Heisman odds. I'm looking at like FanDuel. I think he's plus 600. But if this was next year, I mean, who knows how low that would be. His only thing is we just don't know how good. And then big test. I think that the test Texas Ohio State week 1 is maybe bigger for him than it would be for Jeremiah Smith, just because I feel like you could put a loss if Texas loses on Arch Manning more than you could for Jeremiah Smith if Ohio State loses. But I really like Arch Manning. That would definitely be my second pick, and that's pretty close. The other QBs, I guess we got to mention. I really like Sam Levitt because I think Arizona State's going to win the Big 12. So I think that is why I'm a little bit biased. I think he's going to take a major jump. We're going to talk about college football playoff bracket in a minute, where I can talk all about Arizona State, but I like him. Lenora Sellers, if South Carolina is good, that is a pretty easy pick, I would say. Guys, I'm a little bit iffy on, and you can give your input here. Carson Beck and Cade Klubnik. Wins for those teams for Miami and Clemson in the ACC will be good for their Heisman campaign, but it won't be on the same level as some of the other guys I just mentioned. And I just feel like I could see both Carson Beck and Cade Klubnik losing games for their teams. And if that is something that I can see, I think that really puts you behind in the Heisman race.
Yeah, I completely agree. I definitely think that even as a Miami fan, I can't discount the fact that I wouldn't put Carson Beck up there in the running for Heisman Trophy winner. I think that Miami would have to go undefeated for that to happen. I don't see a world where that's really possible, at least not personally. I think that a name that we might have missed out on, LSU quarterback Darren Nussmeier, I think said it towards the end of mine, but if LSU has a really good year, especially in the SEC, I could see him winning it even with a couple losses on his resume. I don't think that the blame will be completely on him for a lot of those losses. He's one of those quarterbacks where I think if he can limit those mistakes that you're talking about and not lose himself or lose his team some of those games, he could definitely be right in the running for the Heisman Trophy. And then, like you mentioned, Sam Levitt, I think that he is like a little bit farther out, but I think that Arizona State with a great year, he'd definitely be more of the reason, especially without the great running back in Cam Scatterbo. Just touching on Jeremiah Smith one more time, he's also not losing much at quarterback this year. Julian Sayin was a 5-star coming out of high school, originally an Alabama commit, transferred to Ohio State. And Will Howard was a great college quarterback. I don't know that it's going to translate to the NFL. And I think that Julian Sayin isn't much of a drop off, if at all. And I think that towards the end of the season, he could be better than Will Howard was at the end of last season. So, if not an upgrade at quarterback, at least a steady hand at quarterback. If Julian Sayin is good, I think that if he can just lob the ball up to Jeremiah Smith, you'll have no problem. And I think that just as a consensus, like number like 2 behind Arch Manning, and especially at the wide receiver position, I think that Jeremiah Smith is right there being a safe pick.
And I think Jeremiah Love, running back out of Notre Dame, probably the best returning running back in all of college football. His name should be mentioned. If Notre Dame can take care of Miami week 1 and then kind of take care of the rest of their schedule, that's another name I'm probably looking at. Definitely have to mention running backs. I feel like that's a campaign that definitely has to start week 1, though. It's not one that picks up in week 5. I mean, maybe some people will be like, whoa, do you see what this guy's doing? He's got however many yards in week 5. I see that, but I don't think that can take you all the way home because we just watched Ashton Genty come up short. Now, granted, last year, I mean, that crazy, right? Travis Hunter, like completely different player, wide receiver corner, and then, Ashton Genty having maybe one of the best running back seasons that we have seen in the last 20, 25 years. But that's a campaign I think that needs to start in week 1.
Yeah, I'm personally just so low on running backs when it comes to the Heisman Trophy, especially preseason trying to predict them. Just because guys like Ollie Gordon last year, he was like came into the season as like maybe a Heisman hopeful and definitely at least a 1st-round draft pick, and then he falls all the way to the 6th round with Miami, and they finally take him. But I feel like the running back position can just so drastically change from year to year that I really like sticking my neck out for, especially for a Heisman Trophy. It's just so hard to do. But if there was going to be a guy like Jeremiah Love, especially towards the end of the season last year, was flat out dominant. So I definitely think that you could put his name in the hat, but probably not a lot of people outside of him, especially
before we move to the college football playoff bracket. Just kind of a thought. Should this be an award that moves after the playoffs?
I like it being a regular season award just because I think that like I don't know. I think that people can put a little bit too much stock into like one game against a really really hard opponent. I think that like it shouldn't. I don't think that it should completely diminish it. I think that I like it saying as a regular season award, just like how the NBA MVP is a regular season award, how the NFL MVP is supposed to be a regular season award. I think that keeping the award separate from the actual postseason is how it should be.